Today I have with me Eric Lawrence and Andrew Beck. They work on sound design and audio programming for our game and many other games.
Awesome. Nice to be here.
Hi, Carlos.
Nice to virtually have you in a virtual space that neither of us can see each other in.
Yeah, it feels very virtual.
Yeah, I feel your voice.
Ooh,
Yeah.
well, I feel yours back.
Oh.
Before it gets too weird, let's get into what you two do. What are your titles?
So I am a sound designer, and I design the sounds. I've got my hand basically on every sound essentially that's in Scavengers right now at the moment. And yeah, I'm kind of one of the main people to just keep pushing sounds. So I'm always busy just making sounds, implementing them, redesigning, re-implementing.
So right now, basically, my role is kind of like an engineer at like a studio when you're recording an album or something like that. I'm there to kind of support the content guys, and I want to like add the tools, the tech, the systems to make what they want to do possible. So a lot of like what I do is like conversations with them, making sure that like they're able to put their content in a way that can like change properly with the game, dynamic systems, and also like make the tools easy to use so that they're not like wasting time and
Yeah, there would be zero sounds if it wasn't for him.
Nice.
And you've done a lot of tech for us.
Put the plumbing in.
Yeah.
So you would say he's the yin to your yang.
I guess so. Well, I mean, there's.
Yeah. Well, am I
not so
Who's
much.
a yin here?
I don't really know what I meant by that. Anyways.
I mean, I don't know.
Together we are the audio.
Yeah, I don't think
essentially, yes.
I don't think it's like there's people always think about this divide between the creative stuff and the technical stuff, and it's not really. I think it's kind of an artificial divide. I think all music history has been about technology, and so this is just. It just only feels different because we're in the change right now. So, like, Eric is someone who does think really logically about, like, how he's doing it. So he's got a lot of that kind of, what you would say, the yin or the yang or something. But basically, we both embody both sides of it, but we, like, specialize in one area or the other.
Got it.
Yeah. You have to think really creatively, like, to set up a system specifically as well on your end, Beck. Because you can't just be like, oh, we need system A, B, C. Like, you have to figure out how to, like, design it so it complements each area or, like, it works every time.
So if we're looking at, like, a typical day, Eric is working on all the different sounds to put in the game. Andrew's trying to figure out how to get them in it in a programmatic way. Like, what's a typical day like? I mean, that process is definitely a back and forth type thing. Were you like just always communicating throughout the day, or how's it work?
Starts with coffee.
Oh yeah, every single day.
Part.
Hopefully, good coffee.
Yeah.
And then it
former barista. So, yeah. Go. You want to start?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say like after coffee, it usually starts with for me, the sound designer, looking at like different tasks that we've got going on. Picking a design back up that like maybe I started yesterday. Or like if I finished a bunch of designs, have a nice coffee sipping morning, implementing certain things so that way I can let my creative brain get all sped up. And then just kind of like going down a certain list of things, either ideating, recording, designing, or implementing, and then repeat.
And some of that list is coming from us, right?
Oh yeah. Most of that is. I get a lot of priority lists, so that's kind of something that keeps me like focused. Because when you're a sound designer and you're just like, okay, I have to make this game sound good, you can be like, well, I can retouch, like, I don't know, the vehicles, or retouch some of the weapons, or they're putting in some new features. Do I do that? And it's really easy to kind of be like, I'm spread out everywhere. What do I?
Right, like, there's just so much to do, and you're probably reacting more than like just creating, right? Like you're kind of reacting to our feedback.
Yeah, that's definitely a big thing. Like anytime y'all give feedback, like for instance, like sometimes whenever enemy footsteps, you can't really hear them, then I'll be like, okay, let's bump that up into the list. Maybe I can get to that today, maybe tomorrow, but I know it's on my radar to go back in and kind of like retune, volume attenuations, or maybe it's missing like a certain band of frequency, so it's not cutting through the whole mix, like when you're in a firefight. Or maybe the sound is just terrible, and I think, oh man, I really need to get back to that one.
There's so many permutations of each sound, you know what I mean? And I think people realize that.
Yeah, it's one of the harder things to do, especially in game audio. Like with the footstep issue, you have different moments of the game where you're like just kind of exploring, and there's nothing like really big going on, so you're like, okay, everything sounds really good here, but then when you get into a big firefight, you're like, I don't hear the footsteps anymore because gunshots are there, or
right.
like there's voiceover, or a bunch of interactions going on, and the keeper's just going crazy harvesting things, and you're like, well, I didn't hear that enemy.
Which is super important in a game like this.
Yeah, it's extremely important.
I mean, so I always think about sound as like information. So you have like your heads-up display, you have visually everything laid out, what you're looking at. You can see the characters, but that only gives you like a field of vision right in front of your face. Like you get to see only what's in front of you, whereas sound gives an opportunity to like give you a sense of the battleground, give you the sense of like awareness in 360, right? I mean, this sound plays, especially for like this type of multiplayer game, sound plays like a really key gameplay role where you're able to kind of like get a sense of what the environment is around you. And to your point about like how many sounds there are, like how many variations on footsteps, the biggest problem that you have to deal with is making enough that it doesn't sound repetitive and boring, because it's true, people don't realize how many different variations there are, but people notice it when there aren't variations there. Right. It's like really obvious when it's not, and people don't even notice at all when there's lots. But then you also have to have them consistent too, so like there's like maybe 10 different variations on this one footstep, but like that all those 10 variations are the same character, the same kind of like run speed. And it's stuff that, we've been trained over millennia to just pick up automatically. You don't think about it, but we have to like, it's our job to kind of pick that apart and get it. So, so that's the kind of way we, especially for this type of game. I mean, this is how we approach it is how do we convey the information that you need in this like complete chaos that's happening around you.
It's post-apocalyptic. It's nuts.
Yeah.
There can be a lot going on. Yeah.
So it sounds like Eric has a day that seems full of, well, obviously coffee, but also kind of reacting to a lot of stuff that we're saying about the sounds that we hear in the game. And then, Andrew, am I right to believe that you're kind of just going like, okay, now I have to put these back in?
It's not a factory, but like we try and make it like a factory where it's sound request comes in, or like then we do it and then it goes out.
Yeah, it keeps things organized.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'll still be working on the first sound I ever did just to make it perfect.
Yeah.
It's not perfect yet.
Yeah, it's got to be perfect.
It's a problem, perfectionist problem. But yeah, so I mean, it never really runs like a factory, but we trying his best to make it like that because it's a unachievable goal that we should still strive for. But so right now though, what I do is I'm just constantly asking Eric and the other content guys, like, what are your blockers? What's the priority? What's missing? And like, what do you need? That's really like the first question I ask, like stand up afterwards would be just like, what, like making sure that our priorities are all aligned on that and that they're getting what they need to do it. Because the worst thing that can happen is if they're making sounds and they can't get them in game and they're just piling up, and then he has to return to them later. I just want to make sure that the work that they're doing can move smoothly. And also just going through bugs as well too. What comes back from QA, just kind of like bang, 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 getting through those things.
Yeah, I was noticing some of the bugs myself because I play test the game every day as well with everybody. And when I found my first audio bug, I just thought for some reason, because we're working on the game, it was just us. And they were like, no, that's those guys. There's a bug within the code. But I just was kind of fascinated about how much, in quotes, programming really goes into even audio, because like it's telling it when to fire, it's telling it like at what volume, right?
Okay, so audio is definitely my love of everything, but I'm also kind of like just fascinated by everything. Like jack of all trades and master of none is a good description. But like, so like what I love about audio at games is that it touches everything.
I was going to touch on that we are literally in every single system.
Yeah. So as someone who's like, I always want to be learning something new. I always want to be like, I'm touching AI, I'm touching like level design, and I'm touching graphics and shaders and like, well, not in this game shaders, but in other, but like particle systems and, so like I know the Unreal Engine very well just because over the years I've touched every single area that's in there, so that's a really that's part of the fun for me, and to do it all in support of audio is also just like really just I don't know, pretty happy to be doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, definitely.
That's incredible. I mean, like I do social media and I do community and marketing and that kind of stuff, but again, we're such a small company. I also QA the game. I'm also in Unreal creating like, scenarios to work with to make a social content or a screenshot.
Nice.
And you do learn all these things because you're working on a small project and you just kind of have to. So
but even when I was at like a larger team, like it was at a project that was just over 100 people at its peak, and even that for audio is like obviously game development in general, you end up touching a lot of systems, and like you said, it's a smaller team, that effect gets stronger. But even on like 100-person teams, audio is still, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
It's in your system.
Yeah. It's almost like
I'm in your systems.
Yeah, exactly. And it's almost rare for like audio companies to kind of just be like just an asset factory, especially for games. I mean, there's a lot out there, but a lot of the ones that like I pay attention to are like the ones who are inside the game, and they're like implementing things, because you can't just like make a sound and be like, here you go, this is gonna work perfectly. Like you got to hear what it's like in the game, and you got to like take your notes from how it was sounding in the game with these different scenarios.
And that game is changing.
It's a lot of fun,
right? Like the game is changing all the time, so that's why
constantly
it is crazy for you guys, because we're like, oh, you know what? We don't even do that special ability anymore.
There was one day when I was working on something for like the vehicles, and then I finished my design. Was like, okay, I really like this, and then the next day, someone on your team was like, hey, I have this new way of like doing this with the vehicles, and I'm like, well, that doesn't exist in the crap. I should have asked someone about that.
And we're usually chasing after
so
things
much
as well too. I mean, like definitely like graphics works a lot that way, where people make a request and they make a model, they make the animations, and it comes back. And just audio just it doesn't work that way. There's I got a lot of reasons why, so I'm not going to get into it. But
that's a side podcast.
That's like that's a whole like series, podcast series.
I'll be waiting for it.
That's coming up next. So I get the idea of your guys' day. My question kind of fell out that area is voiceover in general. You guys work with that as well, right?
Yeah, for this project we didn't. We do in some projects.
Okay.
For this project it was we went to LA for that, and so we worked with a company who just kind of did everything end to end for us.
Yeah, they're like really good and like really fast.
Yeah,
and we're super grateful for them.
I mean, seriously, one of the.
And then you took those assets and worked with them, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you do some processing on some of on the mother voice?
We did with the mother. Yeah.
The mother, which is I can't wait for more people to hear all those lines, because they're really great.
Oh yeah,
I love the character.
It always cracks me up.
I think one of the big things that was really important, and we can kind of delve in this a little bit, because I think this is common knowledge in the fact that she's in the playtest, but I always thought that she sounded pretty evil and kind of maniacal.
You think?
And you didn't know what angle she's coming from, but I also like the idea that she sometimes sounds a little friendly as well. And I wouldn't even mind seeing more of that, just as personally, because I feel like, a new player comes into the game and they're like not knowing what to expect from this character.
Yeah.
And to kind of have both sides of that is essentially told in your ability to slow down and speed up the vocals, or make it feel even different than it was recorded.
Yeah, it's like just taking someone's voice, and I mean it's kind of like an AI computer-esque, so that's why like we were doing that, but to kind of have it undulate in and out just kind of sets a really off-putting feeling to you.
It's an uncanny valley.
Yeah, it's just like you're just like listening to it and you're like, oh, this is like kind of weird and broken. I'm instantly uncomfortable. Why is that?
It's very good.
What I like about the mother is just that this environment that you're in is just this cold and unforgiving environment. You're in there and you're struggling to survive, and the only thing that's kind of your lifeline to another is just there's something really wrong there. It's like you have no friends.
Well, you have her, and she's something else.
Yeah. I mean, Keeper. I think a Keeper's your friend.
No, the Keeper is your friend.
BFF.
Yeah, but it's not entirely clear if she is.
I have so my question about like kind of present day work on Scavengers. Obviously, we talked about the day to day a little bit. What's something that you are currently working on that you're really excited about that's kind of come along in a big way you didn't think it was, or just a new thing you thought of and implemented?
I mean, I'm really excited about the direction, and it's not just on our end. It's because of some of the changes coming in from you guys as well. Those changes in the storm, and having different sizes, and kind of like making that into a bigger character. So we've kind of switched from having the storm just be this kind of all-encompassing. It's just a sound that plays and changes intensity, and it's kind of one-dimensional, I guess you could say. I mean, it sounds great, but
yeah. It was always on top of you, and we were like, we've had plans to extend that, but we're finally just getting to it, and yeah, it's gonna be really exciting. There's gonna be like point sources, distance-based audio, so that way, like, you can always basically keep not an eye but an ear on where the danger's coming from.
Yeah.
And then as well as some of the visuals, like as the visuals keep getting better, we take a step back and listen to what we've got going on. So like when you enter the storm, I saw a little like test. I think it might be implemented now.
It's in. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah?
It's the one where
and it
hits
things like
you?
shake, and it's so gnarly, and I'm like,
that.
oh my god, I cannot wait to like do a new version of like the sound cue for when you cross the threshold into the storm.
So, but I think just with like the point sources and the, you're getting more information about where the storms are, but it's also just like it adds like this depth to it that wasn't there to the, there's this the kind of like 3D space of where the storms are, the different sizes. It just feels more kind of like dynamic, and I can't put my
No, totally. And like you said, I think that's a great explanation to say that it's a character, right? It's this, some people think it's trolling you because it follows you.
Feels that way sometimes. Sure.
I don't think it is. No,
I don't know. There was one time when I was in it and I just got out of it, and then another one came and just like super fast, like caught me into it, and then I died, and I was like, oh man.
It knows. I tell you, I was one of my favorite moments of the game. I was running between two storms, and they were on the left and right side of me, and I literally ran right through the middle and got out the other side. That felt incredible.
Oh yeah, and that'll sound incredible too when we're done with everything.
Yeah, no,
It's
that
gonna be
thing you were
great.
talking about is so cool, and visual shock and kind of really cool immersion thing that happens when you cross into a heavy storm. It just kind of shakes the whole screen and feels really cool. So I'm excited to see what you guys do with that.
Well, now the pressure's on. I'm gonna have to get something. It's gonna have to.
Yeah,
be
it's gotta be incredible.
Dang sound ever.
I do want to say also, I was playtesting this morning, and there was just these thunderstorms in the distance, and it was so great because it just get that little bit of foreboding, feeling. And I didn't know where they were coming from, and I guess they were connected to a storm somewhere, but it was so far away that it just sounded really great.
Cool. You must have gotten one of the good samples because I need to go back in and re-edit some things. Because I mean, I'm just being modest.
Be easy on yourself.
Perfectionist again. Here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm really excited about the different intensities of it.
Yes.
It's literally never good enough, is it, Eric?
Never.
Well, I'm telling you, it's good enough right now because I had a great time.
I need more time.
It's podcast official now.
It is officially. No, but seriously, just having those different variations. Again, going back to our whole point of this podcast I want to have you guys on is because it's uber important, the sound, and it really adds this whole extra layer to a video game. I mean, video games are, like you said earlier, just this immersive experience, and sound's just a huge part of that. I will say that, did you guys see the ASMR video I made?
Yeah.
Oh,
I love it.
That was honestly one of the biggest pats on the back for me. I was super
awesome.
happy with the ambience that I made for
Kudos, by the way.
Yeah.
That was such a great. I love that idea. It's so awesome.
And it
It came from the community, by the way. I can't take
yeah?
credit. Yeah.
Okay.
It got a lot of good.
Kudos to the hive mind. Then.
Yes. Yeah. Our community is amazing, and they just ASMR snow, and I was like, yes, I'm gonna do that.
It's I didn't even have to start watching the video. Just I knew. I was like, this is great.
Can I tell you a little Easter egg in that video?
Yeah.
So the whole thing is, I think I walked in the snow for about 10 minutes or so, and then I just looped that, right, for an hour or so. And then at the end, I went back to real time walking in the snow and walked up into a building. And you can hear the sound change from snow after this whole hour to finally walking into on hardwood floors.
Nice.
It's the very end.
That's some good narrative storytelling for you. Yeah. You're out in the cold, and then you enter your house and it's nice and warm. That's a good way to tail end.
Well, before we go into community questions, are there any other things you guys wanted to talk about when it comes to audio and your work in Scavengers?
Yeah, I mean, just that it's a really exciting project to work on, and I think it's a great blend of a lot of different styles of gameplay that it just works. I wasn't sure it was going to work together, but obviously there's some vision there because you can just feel these kind of different gameplay styles and systems and things like that, and they blend together into a really great co-op, and this PvE and PvP and the mixes in a very unique way, I think, for this style. So I'm excited to see how kind of the broader community receives it, because it's great.
Yeah, I think what you said is you're right on the money with it's the mix of styles. When I first got here, why I was so excited to work on it and work with the community is because the community for games, does want the new, fresh thing, but they also think they love their Fortnite. They love the games that they play. And so I think that immediately I saw that we were taking kind of the best of all the different worlds, and throwing them together. And then also, I'm a big fan of RPGs and games like Skyrim, and where anything can kind of happen, and you build all these different systems. And so I've been on the champion of saying that it has that kind of RPG quality to it in a way where, you don't know what that bear is going to do. He might go attack the camp, and then that's a whole little story in itself. And
it's emergent.
You don't have this level of world building in Fortnite or other games like that.
Well, there's not as much. Well, there's a lot of emergent stories that happen in Fortnite, but it's more about me versus the other players.
Yeah.
And there can be pretty hilarious things that happen, right? There's a reason why people use the same kind of things in each game, because they work well, and you've taken what works well and added enough, just enough of a twist to it, not too much where it's makes it fresh again, because now you have these emergent stories with the other players, which is something that's great about Fortnite and everything, and but now it's the environment also is playing a greater role into it.
Yeah, totally.
So,
yeah, everything makes sense in this world.
Yeah, and I mean the thing that makes the most sense to me is bears, because they're awful and they kill you.
That's what I've been saying. Bears make sense. Have you ever listened to a bear?
We should. You know what?
I've never tried.
Don't do that. And actually, we'll have no more sound department if you guys go out and try to listen to them.
Talk to.
I mean, I need to go out and record some infected bears. Where's do we have budget for that? Can I go out and record some infected bears?
You could. I have a question actually about that. My last question about your process. When it comes to sounds like that for animals and different things, I mean, you're not making everything in-house, so what's the process of going and getting, like, bear sounds?
Did you plan this question?
No, I didn't.
Because we were literally talking about this as a possible question beforehand.
I just talk about bears a lot because the community does.
I knew you like bears.
Literally, we were talking about bears and the bear sounds.
Yeah. God.
And if you can't tell me all of your secrets, it's okay.
It's a little bit of a secret, but I will kind of tease that, like, it's not so much the bear itself, it's the emotional, like, quality of the sound that you get. So basically, you've got a large animal that's really angry and, like, has fangs, and you're just kind of looking for that, like, raw, like, kind of quality. So it can range from actual bears, put in some, like, lions in there. You can put anything else that growls, and you just kind of mix certain things here and there to make it more representational. So the bears are terrifying because I made them terrifying.
Right.
Other than the standard bear roar that, if you think about, you can just hear in your head, what else will make, like, those emotive qualities? Like, you can't just use we use a lot of, like, animal, like, library sounds and some of our own recordings if we ever had the chance. I unfortunately haven't had the chance to record a bear yet, so with a limited palette of bear roars, you have to take a limited palette and make a whole emotive set with it. So then that's when you kind of introduce in some other textures to it, so that way you can get the flexibility for having a believable bear.
Right.
You also, like, make it sound like the same bear if he's, like, resting or if he's attacking or if he's hurt. Like, there has to be consistency across all those things. So when he talks about building a set, you're really building up this big library of different sounds that you can use for this bear. And, like, there's not, like, the bear sound. It's, like, really more of a collection and kind of guidelines for putting them together. And it's not just the emotive qualities, too. There's also the fact that every sound, no sound is an island. Everything fits together in the final mix. And so that means, like, the frequency, I won't get in the specifics of it because it can get technical, but a sound by itself is not good or bad. The entire mix is good or bad. And how does everything fit together? Kind of like puzzle pieces, so that you can know what direction that bear is coming from. And it doesn't just, like, mix in and kind of, like, smoosh up in a mess with all the other sounds that are going on around you.
Right.
And actually, we do play with that smushiness on purpose when the storm comes up, because that's kind of you have reduced visibility. You also have reduced, like, spatialization, and and part of that is, like, so that white noise covers up everything, kind of smooshes it all together. That's a creative choice on purpose. But without the storm there, and the basic thing, you want all the sounds to fit together.
One of the things we actually got from the community about those bear sounds were, like, we and this is part of its game mechanics as well, but making the bears less ninja-like, and giving them more warning sounds or sights or something, so people know when they're coming, so they're just not, like, one shot from behind. And that sounds like that's part of what you guys are building as well, like, because, like, attacking the sounds from different sides and angles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Will there be bear ninjas in the game?
I had this amazing image of a bear ninja.
I know.
So I didn't know what you meant by it just, like, sneaking up.
That's the new enemy class. You have infected bears,
and
regular
ninja
bears, and ninja bears.
Yeah. But like, kind of to answer that question, a good way to provide something like that would to be, like, before you aggro the bear, to, like, have certain bear sounds in the environment, like, of it just kind of being idle. So you're just, like, running around, and then you hear just a very faint kind of, like, motive from a bear, and you're just like, oh, there's bears over there, as opposed to you're walking around and then you hear just a bear roar at you, and you're
because
like,
they
no.
would make noise by themselves.
Yeah, they would just kind of just go along and do whatever. But yeah, you need that that audible tell.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, going back to the other conversation, that's AI, that's animation, and everything else has to come together for it.
You guys sent me some bear sounds, and I was actually able to see the differences of like bear running, and so I did get to see into some of that, different types. All right, let's go on to community questions. You guys ready?
Totally.
Yes. Lightning round.
First one is from Anhanga on Discord. How does the audio team see their part of adding immersion and strategy to the game? Well, we've kind of touched on it a little bit.
So there's different types of games, and like each game has its own way to approach the sound, and if we're working on a game that's like a single player platformer, story-based narrative, blah blah blah, then like we have like this kind of more linear approach towards things, more emotive, like the story is being told through the emotional content of the story is being told through the sound. But this kind of game, the stories, like as we mentioned, are emergent stories. What makes a game like this interesting is like you're playing with other people. This is social, and you're seeing these scenarios. Like you're basically setting up a playground, and then the players are like creating their own fun inside of it, right?
And then on top of that, for like the immersion quality, you're building this whole environment around. So like that's ambiances, everything that has to do with like the level design. Like we have to kind of touch on that, whether it's like old buildings or the storm, of course, and then like you're just like building this entire like not mythology, but just kind of like this lore around the game.
Yeah, it's like a language.
Yeah.
So when we approach a game like this, we are always thinking about how does the sound affect the player gameplay experience. How does he know what's going on? How can he pick apart what's important to him at that moment? And that's basically the kind of core question, and then the kind of world building emerges from that in a sense.
Oh yeah,
where you need to do the different tells and all of that, and then you add this nice little cherry on top that's like, it sounds desolate and it sounds like X, Y, and Z, and that's kind of where like the little nuances come from.
Yeah, it's literally both things. The question was great because it is immersion and strategy. You are trying to figure out what to do, need to know what these cues are, so where you should go, if bears are sneaking up on you or not. And then you also want to feel cool. Like I said, thunderstorms in the distance. So I think we answered it. Let's go to the next one. Dr. A.K. Riss on Discord says, I wonder how spatial sound is actually made. How do you create ambient cues for, let's say, sound coming from below or above the player?
So we use our audio middleware basically for that, and basically we're not doing that. We're just kind of controlling it. So you place a sound into the world, or let's say a gunshot, for instance. You place a sound at the event of a gunfire, and then that basically fires off onto the server and then plays it, which then when you hear it, it is X distance away, maybe like it's choosing a different sample because it's so far away. Maybe there's like going to be some reverb onto it. So that's kind of how you localize and you understand the distance of it. As for like up and down.
So, I mean, let me give
You're a little more into that world.
Yeah, so I'll give a quick kind of overview of the technical of how this works. It's really interesting. It's really cool. But it gets pretty deep. So I'll give the kind of broad view of it. So like, basically it all comes down to two things. How you tell where a sound is around you. One is the distance between your ears, and your brain actually picks that up. We call it the interaural. I don't know how to pronounce it. The interaural ear distance, right? So it's like there's a delay when a sound comes to you. There's a delay before it hits one ear and hits the other ear. And your brain uses that, and they've done studies. Your brain uses that tiny amount of a delay and uses that to position where a sound is relative to your ears. And the other thing is, too, that your ears are just really weird shaped. Like, look at everybody's ear. Like, look at somebody's ear. It's just like there's so many weird curves and stuff.
Have you ever wondered about those curves?
Well, let me tell you, why did we evolve to have those?
And this podcast has turned into another podcast.
Yes, so
we're a gold mine.
So, but yeah, like where the sound is, it will bounce and reflect, and it'll basically filter differently based on where you are. It's not the absolute filtering, it's not how it gets filtered, but it's the changes in filtering that gives you a sense of what direction things are coming from. Right. And so people have recorded these things. They make a little model of a head, they put it in a room, and they record sounds around it, above it, below it. And those are called HRTFs. If you want to read more about it, they're really cool. Go look it up. We're not doing a lot of really in-depth stuff with that in this because I think I'll basically just like a lot of panning, and then like we low-pass filter for distance. That gets you really, really far without having to do more of the intense stuff. So these kind of like techniques that I just talked about, they're really coming into fruition in VR more than first-person shooters for various reasons.
Right. Yeah. But it's so cool, though. That's it's a lot of cool knowledge about how it works, and I think that answers the question.
Cool. We got a point. What is HRTFs? Thank you.
Nice. And we don't have any points, but okay, you have a point.
Thank you.
The next,
even though it's meaningless, I feel great.
You should. You have one. The next one is from a name I can't pronounce, but I'll try to. Asterninian, or is it Asterninian Last? I think that's what it is. And it's on Discord. And they ask, what's the strangest thing the team has used for Foley? I've seen some pudding mixed with celery or boots stomping on Jell-O.
Those are all great examples of Foley. Let me think.
Didn't you just go up to the mountains with Andy and just smash stuff for one thing?
It wasn't me.
Okay.
But yeah, that is one thing. You go to a nice quiet place and you get a bunch of just heavy equipment and you just throw it down with a bunch of microphones standing around.
Wait, when you say heavy equipment, do you mean like maybe a printer?
Yeah. I mean, the printer's got some interesting qualities to it. It's a little hollow, and the plastic is it's telling. But I'm talking about like filing cabinets and.
Is it cathartic?
It sounds cathartic just hearing about it.
Yeah. But I don't know, a weirdest one. A funny one that I was literally doing like about an hour ago was working on like the bow sounds, and I wanted a nice like thwack kind of sound, and I have a large rubber band here, and I was just trying out different materials, and then I realized that my arm is a really good material, so I was just kind of like slapping it against it. It's just getting this really nice. My arm's a little red. You can't see it anymore, but it was really red, probably like right before we did this.
Do you see what Eric sacrifices to bring you this sound?
Every day.
That's good. I like it. I appreciate your suffering. And last question is from Corfleur on Twitter. They ask how we might incorporate feedback from the community into sound updates. So essentially, if people give us ideas in the community, can we get them into the game? I think the answer is yes.
Yeah, that's
totally.
kind of...
First of all, hi, Corfleur. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
I think you did good.
But, yeah, sorry.
No.
I was just saying, this is something I've done on other projects where, like, I had go on the forums, get involved with kind of people and just talk to them just talk to them, communicate. But I've had people who are talking all sorts of stuff about audio, and you get in the forums and you talk to them and you say this and this and this, and you listen to it and you say, yeah, that sounds great. Like, let's do that. And then another, here's why it wouldn't work, right? And then, and I've turned people who are really critical of audio into our biggest fans of it. This has happened. And so I'm all about talking to the community. I think especially in this game where, like it keeps saying, it's about information, it's about gameplay and strategy. I think it's super important to be listening to how people use it, because how you play the game and how we work with it, on a day-to-day basis, a lot of that is kind of in the laboratory in the sense, because we're like running in the editor and we're not really playing a game. We do play tests regularly, but then again, we know the systems in a way that the players don't yet, although now that I say it, players get pretty deep and
yeah. Well, I mean,
works.
it's also that like we're looking at the game so closely that it's really hard to just kind of like take a step back and like listen to everything like as a whole. So the community is always really good at being like, hey, these sort of sounds, they're a little misleading, and I'm like, oh well, I've been listening to that and I know what it is, so it's obviously not misleading to me.
Right, and they're playing it in different settings too, right, with their friends and in different types of situations. So
yeah. Sometimes you just hit yourself on the head. You're just like, why did I not see that? Like,
they are the check and the balance.
So that answer is a yes, Corflare.
Oh yeah, definitely.
We're gonna make some of that happen.
Cool.
Okay, well, we're at time, and I want to thank Eric and Andrew. You've been lovely to talk to, and I've learned a lot about audio.
Thank you, Carlos. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, I was going to say that. You took my line.
All right.
You both can
do
say
it now.
that.
It's been a big pleasure.
It's been a fantastic pleasure.
We'll do another one, though, because two things. One, as the game goes on and gets further along, we're going to have a lot more new things to talk about. And two, I got to get out to Atlanta. I got to make it happen.
Yeah.
Have a one-on-one sit down and
It'll be
let's
fun.
Do it.
Okay. What you guys have a sign off, or are we just going to say goodbye?
Goodbye.
That's my sign off. It's
I think we just did the sign off.
See you.
Yeah.
That's
my sign off is an abrupt. Just I stop recording.
And
so in mid sentence and.